As we can see on the timer, 5 minutes and 33 seconds. That's till 12:05 Central, 1:05 Eastern, 10:05 Pacific. I believe that's what time the video actually aired yesterday. We can confirm by looking at this YouTube channel. It looks like, yeah, the premiere is still pending. So we're still on the waiting block. But as you guys mentioned earlier, right, Frosty landed at number 10, which is pretty impressive. We got number 9 coming out today, number 8 tomorrow, and essentially one a day after that for the rest of the week and the week and next week, right? And then let's also keep in mind that number 1's going to get released on September 24th, and at the same time, or not the same time, but the same day, we're going to get the technical flight for the multiplayer. That's going to be exciting, right? So kudos to HCS. I called them out for this yesterday too. Not calling them out, but praise them, right? Because I love the timing of all this. Obviously, this was a huge conversation starter. And as I say that, I see the premiere countdown has finally started. And it's down to 1 minute already. So final predictions, Knighty, Gary, I'm going to start with you, Knighty.
It is going to be Royal 2.
Royal 2? I don't believe it. I think it's either Walshy or we're going to see Mr. Lunchbox.
Walshy.
Lunchbox or Walshy? The disrespect.
I think it's just because I put a lot more emphasis on what Royal 2 and Snakebite have been able to do. And I think, with the way that we've seen the list go thus far, I don't think it's that crazy to think that Walshy, didn't get where a lot of people think he should be. And I think this is the thing, guys. It's so narrow all the way from here. It can really go either way. But either way, I'm gonna shut up. We're gonna figure it out right now.
There we go. Oh my god. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to handle it if Walshy is top 9.
Watch me yell it. We're gonna. It's Lunchbox. I got it right though.
No
Lunchbox.
way.
Number 9.
Way. Lunchbox.
Oh, great player though. Absolutely deserving of a number 9 spot.
I mean, he's a top 10 for sure, but
forgot that he's the next game's gold medalist.
Everybody's always going to talk about how Lunchbox was this good team player. He was the glue to the team. All of those convenient buzzwords that people want to use to describe someone who's selfless on the team. Roy got all of this attention. But in reality, when you go back, there was a lot of times where we'd be sitting there on the cast and I'd say, Lunchbox is the reason they're winning.
Really gotta go back to this guy,
Lunchbox should have been so much higher. Oh my god. Not to mention he should have been higher than Roy.
Lunchbox was committed to winning the match long
I think it's hard
before
because Roy has just so much more pure
dedicating
talent.
hours preparing and testing strategies to stay two steps ahead of the
His
competition.
BR is crazy.
The stuff that he would do
BR.
behind the scenes that people don't get to see was so important to the process.
One of the most selfless players in the game. He does all the dirty work and does whatever it takes, and that's why I usually get the
Remember
glory.
the shell necklaces?
Without him, I
was about to say a 2006
Lunchbox has a greater overall picture of what's going on the map and what's going on with his teammates and what they're doing and how he's going to coordinate with
general.
them.
He's like the epitome of playing to win and not caring about anything else. I don't think Lunchbox ever did anything without thinking before doing it.
What's beautiful about him as a player is that you got the consistent, very talented, very smart player who could shoot.
I think this is going to be EG putting one on the board. Rocket comes down there.
Yeah, fun fact, he was a pro FFA player in Halo 2. His brother was not.
Will he get the overkill? Yes,
Hit scan versus projectile, I suppose.
I had first heard about Lunchbox
Just better player.
in Halo 2. I bought the Xbox Live icon avatar of 5K, and I thought that 5K was such a cool name.
They were online warriors-ish, and people thought they weren't going to do that well on LAN. And so they were getting a lot of trash talk. And they showed up at the first event in Charlotte and got like top 4 or top 6. Everyone shut their mouths.
Their
instantly.
first event.
I
placed
went and I
fourth.
researched what this team was, and I saw that there was a player named Lunchbox, and then I saw he was a twin, but then I figured, okay, well, they got psychic powers. Clearly, this has to be some kind of connection, like over 1 over 2 style.
Two people that you don't want to play against. It's just hard. It's just hard Halo to beat those guys.
He immediately rose up to a pro player at his first event, and it continued that success for a whole decade.
I played against them and landed against them a bunch in Halo
Steve
2.
Jobs
They
vibes.
were a totally different animal in Halo 3.
I kind of see that.
I knew they were good, but I didn't realize how insanely good they were.
All right, well, we have the sniper battle between
Gotta love how it's 240p way back in the day. We're barely making out Spartans on broadcast.
Hey man, that was a luxury for us.
Why not? Lethal's there.
Makes you realize how beautiful MCC actually is. Oh my god. Oh, that's so
what a clip. Let's go.
Shout out Hastings.
Hastings, yeah.
I think you probably edited that.
Oh yeah.
In 2011, Lunchbox won the MLG Halo Reach National Championship, but his domination didn't end there. In total, Lunchbox took home 14 major tournament wins, including an X Games gold medal before retiring from Pro Halo.
I love this voiceover.
Somebody that's crowned with X Games gold medal is one of the best in the world at their craft.
And I remember seeing them get up in excitement after that win. You could just tell it meant the world to them. It's something that will always be remembered in the history of Halo forever.
What a win.
That's such a special accolade.
Was that snipe down or commonly that was just air guitaring?
Lunchbox is one of my favorite teammates I've ever had. He is very orderly, punctual, and we've jokingly called him Mom Box because you'd be the person that's like, hey, make sure you don't drink that much tonight because we got a big game tomorrow. So like, but you don't want to be too pushy, but just be like, hey man, be aware of what you're doing.
He
love Pistola,
however much going on, he still treated it the same way with the amount of respect and dedication. Lunchbox definitely, honestly, gave me a good old life lesson on that one.
Not only does he make people into better players, I truly feel like as a person, he was just an amazing human being.
Everything that he did was super important because he is calculated and methodical. He even has a quote where he says, "Every dang thing I do is calculated."
Calculated.
The most patient flag running I've ever seen by any player.
He's been winning events for a decade and longer than most people even compete for their professional careers. Not many people are national champions and X Games gold medalists.
That South by Southwest win. He blew me away because I was the observer for that event, and I was watching him. Like, obviously, Roy had sniper, so I had to go to him a lot of the time. But Lunchbox, some of the things he was doing off to the side, I wanted to go to him so many times. But it's all about the power weapons. But at the same time, I was just keeping my eyes on Lunchbox the entire tournament because how many amazing plays he had. He had so many entry kills when he would go in and he would get that big double or that big triple. And we caught it a few times on stream that he was just going off the entire tournament. Like, if I had to give an MVP to anybody in that big Halo 3 Invitational, it would have been Lunchbox. He blew me away with his ability. And, beating players like the Sentinels guys and, all the top dogs that showed up, it's no easy feat. And for him to be playing as long as he has and just to be continuously that dominant, and the only thing stopping him is his professional career and him, having to take put priority on his family and not compete still. I still think that he would be able to be a top player easily in Infinite. And like I already said before, he was the better brother in my eyes. I mean, they were just so close though. I mean, they were twins. They were just both unbelievable world champions. They had a Halo Reach MLG win, but number 9, I would have given it to Royal 2, but Royal 2 is a two-time world champion. So that's if you're gonna weight it, Lunchbox only has 1 world championship.
And Lunchbox has 14 LAN wins. Royal 2 has more than that. Like I guess the biggest thing is like I don't think people really put a lot of weight for some reason into like how many championships there were in Halo 5 and the fact that Tox won just about every single one of them. Sentinels is just they're another beast, and that's why I put Lunchbox at number 9. I go on the other route where I think there's a lot of stock put in Halo 3, right, which is why I would see Roy above Lunchbox, because Roy's BR shot was just so iconic. No one else really there was no one else that shot the BR like Roy, and I think people just remember that aspect, and that's why they probably rank him a little bit higher, because they remember the Halo 3 tournaments and what Roy was doing with the BR like you said, Lunchbox, he's just an incredible. He's like a glue for a team. You know, I like what they said about him being like the mom of the team, making sure everyone's ready to go. You could tell it was his job. He took it seriously, and that's why he's been able to maintain relevance for so long. And even in Halo 5, like he was always in that striking distance for top 3, finding whatever roster was possible. I think he ended his career on Renegades, where he took 3rd place with Neptune. So I mean, that was great. Like in 2018, like in Halo 5, he was still making it happen, and he was still working with whoever was necessary.
The calculated master. You know, there's some people that have just always been in Lunchbox's corner as being one of the greatest to do it. But, you know, when you look at the stats like that, where he's only got the win major championship in Halo Reach, that just really hinders you, honestly. Like, I do weight Halo 3 higher than Reach, but I don't think that those weightings really matter in the long run. If you win a world championship and a title, then that's huge. If you win 2, that's even bigger. And so that really is where Royal 2 should be higher than Lunchbox. So I'm guessing number 8 will be Roy. Which,
I mean, if we pull up the points for the top 25, you can see how close number 9 and number 8 and number 7 are, right? So there's an 8-point differential between 8 and 9. Like, I think maybe that Halo 3 biasy could definitely push you over to number 7. I think that could give you 8 more points. I think it has to be Roy at number 7. I just can't see the twins being separated by multiple spots.
Ogre 2 just said, maybe my favorite teammate of all time. And his brother's just going to be so upset.
Yeah, right here. Maybe
brothers fight, you know? It's like, I think teaming with your brother would actually be a really hard thing, because that dynamic, it has to be different. Though that being said, they're twins, so who knows, right? Like there's some twins always have a different dynamic than normal brothers.
They're a unit, and they don't even consider each other teammates when you're a twin. Like Ogre 2 and Ogre 1 are the same person basically. They played like it. They both have a very similar personality too. Like,
imagine if Elamite and Ace were twins, man. They would have teamed with each other. They would have been OP. Unfortunately, Ace is a little too young over the day, but yeah, I think that's huge praise from Ogre 2, and I think Ogre 2, he's been like the. I think he's been the shining light for the old heads. You know, he's in every list, given his reaction. One thing I will point out is that Ogre 2 he's not complaining at number 9. I think he thinks number 9's a good spot. Yeah. I saw some people like, how is he not top 5? And I'm like, well, like, let's be realistic here. Like, top 5, I don't think he's done enough to be definitive de facto top 5 player. I think that list, I think he's just on the outside looking in. You know, maybe if he decides to come back to Infinite and pop off once again, that's his chance to make himself into the top 5.
Yeah. There's always time, always room for him to do more. We're getting some little stat sheets here from Moses's wonderful charts he put out over the years, and Mr. Snow is throwing it at us right now. We got some win percentages. Lunchbox. He had a lot lower of a win percentage than what I had expected from a guy of his caliber. A lot lower than Ogre 11. Even lower than Frosty, which I guess isn't too surprising, really. But looking at his top 8 finishes, holy cow. He had a crap ton of, what was that, 52 right. Top 8 finishes. My God.
And I think that's what puts players like APG, players like Lunchbox. I think that's what cements their legacy. I think T-Squared's another player like that who just had a ton of top 8 finishes, which show that they were just prevalent throughout their entire career.
Yeah.
But that's why this is why like players like Frosty got number 10 is when you look at Frosty's statistics, his win percentage is so high that he doesn't have a lot of top 8 finishes, because when he finishes top 8, he wins a tournament. And like it's the same, you know, that's why I think we see players like Frosty, players like Shotzi get up higher, even though they're so low on that graph. It's like, well, that's because they're winning every tournament that they're entering. And it's an unnatural talent that those guys had. Like when your win percentage is higher than your top 8 finishes, I think that's a that's a great indicator. But honestly, yeah, Frosty at number 10, Lunchbox at number 9. I still think Ogre 1 should have probably been in that top 10, but it's
let's not go there, dude.
I actually had him at 11 on my list, so maybe the judges think a little bit like I do.
Gosh,
but
no,
it's just
man,
so hard.
The rings, Ogre 1 had rings, man.
It's true.
Had so many rings, 3 rings. Not many people have that. I think it's like the list is like 5 people. Lethal has. I guess if you count the season finals, he might have an extra ring, but not many players have that many rings. So the rings really matter in my opinion. And Ogre 1's just a god. He's one of the gods. If he kept competing, no telling where he could have gone. But
someone has Neighbor as the.
I was going to ask.
At least Sniper.
Where do we think the rest of the spots land as far as players go?
Neighbor's not in that discussion.
Yeah, I was looking at. I don't think Neighbor is like.
No.
But I guess that means Neighbor gets left off. Which is,
he's not on the top 25.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a ring.
That's true. Which I think did Nated get announced as top 25?
No, he's not in.
Yeah,
he doesn't even have a win.
Yeah, I was going to say he doesn't have a win, so it's like he was just always a prevalent top 2.
But then that's when the consistency comes in, right? But then you can't leave out people. Like, you can't leave out people. Like, you can't put someone in that doesn't have a win and then leave out the people that have a lot of wins. Like, say, Ryan Noob, for instance. Like, Ryan Noob doesn't have any rings, but he's been so consistent and been winning. He's a winner. So top 25 players have got to be winners. So on my list, I put Nated because Nated was so darn consistent and got so many second places at World Championships, second places at majors. I mean, he was very, very close so many times and was very dominant up on the main stage. Nobody could deny that he's one of the best individual players to ever play the game. But you got to win to get on this list. Got to win.
Here's a great point. Who do you think, if anybody, gets snubbed from the list based on what we've received so far?
Well, I think
the snubs.
Yeah,
I think we can confirm the top. Like, what? So we have 8 more players. It's going to be Roy, Royal 2, Snakebite, Snipe Down, Ola, Ogre 2, Walshy, and that leaves one last player. So that's 7 that we like 100% know without a doubt that they're going to be on top 7, the top list.
It's guaranteed at this point. I think we already know who the snubs are. Trying to think if there's any that I'm really upset
Nated
about.
Obviously was in this conversation already, so considerably, right?
If Nated's top 10, bro,
no, top 25,
right?
He's talking about the snubs for top 25.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, I'm just trying to figure out who's like that. Who's that 8th person that we're forgetting in the top 10?
Oh, well, yeah, it's Ghost Yami. Ghost Yami for sure. I think Shockwave as well. I think Shockwave and Ghost Yami, they both had.
To me, that's an upset that they're above Lunchbox.
No, not for top 10. I'm saying for just the list.
Okay, that's
Brandon
what I'm saying. I'm trying to figure out who the 8th person on top 10 is.
And the snubs for sure. The top 10's already locked in.
Well, all I'm saying is I have 7 of the 8 remaining players. I'm just trying to think of who the 8th player in the top 10 is.
Hey, there's my list. Yeah,
legit. Okay, there we go.
Oh, wait a minute, Cloud would be a snub.
Honorable mentions, AP.
Cloud would be a snub in my opinion. Cloud was freaking awesome. He was 2nd place in 2007. He almost won the national championship for the free-for-all. The individual. He was almost one of the best individuals ever. Then he goes in 2008 in Halo 3 and is upsetting Final Boss. And then he goes on to win the national championship in 2009 with a ragtag team, that nobody would have guessed. Just blew everyone's mind. And then he's the first player to get the 3-peat. So Cloudy Cloud for sure. If Cloudy Cloud isn't in there, that's a snub. I think Cloud and Ghost Yami for me. Those because Ghost Yami got 2nd place at Nationals. He almost won the exact same Nationals, and he won a 2006 Nationals versus one of the most dominant teams. The 2 most dominant teams, Final Boss and Sentinels. He beat one of those to win a national championship. That right there in its own right. He's called the Ogre Killer. So leaving off Ghost Yami and Cloud, that's.
I mean, all of Carbon essentially is
Karma's
snubbed.
No,
Karma's in at like very low, and then all the other ones are I've been taken out. They haven't been on the list. I think Gandhi is just such an iconic player. I would have put Gandhi at like my 25.
He was on my list. Yeah.
Yeah. Just because like what he did way back in the day, I just think was so impactful.
Very impactful. Huge impact. Even when he wasn't winning, he was dominating all the other teams. He was the gatekeeper. Like, you couldn't get past Gandhi. Like, Gandhi's only problem was the ogres. That he could beat everyone else and be dominant at it. Like, you've seen the videos. He was, giving T-squared hell. Like, Gandhi was an absolute savage. And it's just unfortunate that we're leaving out these icons. Shotzi has a world championship in a very big time, but I wouldn't have put Shotzi on my list. Shotzi said he wouldn't have put himself on the list. Obviously, he's very humble.
Shotzi's gonna say that, but when we see,
a lot of people said it's weird.
Shotzi might be a top 3 skilled player that'll ever touch the sticks in any console or any controller competitive game. I think you have to take that into account, right? It's the top 25 players of all time, and it's not the top 25 careers of all time. It's the top 25 players. And if you're going to talk about actual talent and who is there, I think Shotzi is in that conversation, and he gets a huge boost from it. Would I put him at 14? Probably not. What I think is a tragedy, if he gets 14, then players like Renegade, Eco, and Stellar got robbed, in my opinion, because then they should be in the top 25 is the way I see it, because he had a great supporting cast behind him.
Sure.
And I think that's the only problem I see with Shotzi at 14. But Shotzi is gross. And like, he was a player that came onto the scene and you instantly took notice.
Yeah. And Shotzi and Renegade were winning before they got with Stellar and them. You got to remember, they were with Shooter, who Shooter didn't have a win. Boo Boo Doo Boo didn't have a win. None of them had a win before teaming with Shotzi. Shotzi and Renegade really paved the way. Renegade gets left out of that conversation. Renegade was a big part of that. I think Shotzi and Renegade are a duo, in my opinion. Like, Shotzi, yes, he was the one that was flashy, but Renegade, man, he's still dominant. He's still at the top of Halo right now. He's the guy going into Infinite everybody's looking at, in my opinion. He is one of those guys that was able to just look at Frosty and be like, I don't care. This is nobody to me. That's crazy to have that mindset versus Frosty, who is the best Halo 5 player. So when we're talking about Shotzi, you can't leave out Renegade.
Yeah, the other thing I'd bring up is that like Shotzi's one of those few players that just realizes what it takes to win, and he's not afraid to drop people to make that happen. Like I 100% believe if Frosty was available on the table, Renegade was getting dropped from Splice for Frosty to take that spot. And the same thing happened. I mean, Boo Boo Doo Boo is Shotzi's best friend in the world. And he drops him. It's just crazy to think that like Shotzi was that focused on winning. But going back to the man of the hour, right, Lunchbox, he started off Halo 5 hot. I think that gold medalist is probably what puts him over like a lot of people in the list, is like having that medal in Halo 5. They didn't. Reciprocity, did they win any events with Lunchbox on the team after that? Did he get any other Halo 5?
You talking about Halo 5?
Yeah. I don't think they got any other Halo 5 titles, did they?
It was Evil Geniuses, and they were dominant in H2A, and then Lethal left in the beginning of Halo 5.
They won the first H5
and they beat Lethal with Sentinels. They beat Sentinels.
Yeah, once. And then
that was it. That was it in Halo 5 for them.
Yeah, then he gets top 3. So I think that's probably what puts... If he wins maybe 1 or 2 other titles in Halo 5, he probably ekes his way over... Royal 2 and Snakebite. If he had more of an impactful career in Halo 5. That being said, I mean he was still relevant, getting top 3. That's the other thing is Roy hung up the sticks in Halo 5 and Lunchbox stayed, and I guess the judges probably didn't put that much weight on it, because Lunchbox was still playing and got top 3 at the end of Halo 5, and Roy had retired relatively early into Halo 5 cycle.
Yeah, I think that those retirements really hit him hard as far as the wins, because he would have been more set up. Roy and Lunchbox took breaks. I mean, a lot of players took breaks because of Halo 4 and all that, but I think they took more breaks than most of the top players. Most of the top players stuck it out because they're just so disciplined. Like, they're very good at balancing their lives. They know when to take a break from Halo and when not to. and they did a great job. Their careers are legendary. That's why he's top 10. That's why Roy's going to be top 10. And maybe I'm putting a little bias in there, putting him at above 9 and wanting to put him above his brother because he is one of my favorite individuals. Lunchbox is just, if you want, like for me individually, I would want to mask myself after his gameplay completely because I think it's one of the most efficient ways to play the game. It's like a lethal. It's like a Walshy back in the day. It's just win-win. That's all that's on your mind. Does not matter what happens. If you've got to take extra deaths, if you've got to throw the power weapons off the map, if you got to take a rocket for a teammate who's about to score the flag, whatever you got to do it. Lunchbox is that guy, and number 9 isn't a bad thing. It's no Ogre 11. There was no disservice here. There's no major disrespect. I think Lunchbox being in the top 10, in general, because he didn't have, like you said, a dominant Halo 5 career, which Halo 5's been a massive part of Halo's history now. Like we've been competing in Halo 5 for a long time online and on LAN, and it's had 3 world championships. So you got to give it.
It's been in for the longest. I mean, like what? Yeah. It's been. This is the thing with all these Halo 5 pros, is that they could have played 2 titles if the game cycles were the same as they were back in the day. Frosty could be a multi-FPS, like multi-title champion. Then it would be no doubt, right? Then people would be, oh yeah, 100%, he's top 10.
Yeah. That is true.
And it's like, well, Halo 5's been out for so long that he hasn't really had the opportunity to prove it. And, when Infinite comes out, he'll have the opportunity. But Lunchbox, I mean, yeah, he transcended multiple titles. Looks great. But, yeah, we're seeing how close. I mean, look at the point disparity between 12 and 11, right? It's like clearly from here, these were the players that every judge just instantly penned into, like, their top 10.
Yeah, and so wrapping it up, you said you missed one player. We've got obviously Ogre 2, Walshy. We've got Snipe Down, Lethal, Pistola, Snakebite, Roy, and then Royal 2. Those are the last big guys to do it. Which one of those was the one you left out?
Well, that's 7, right? So like we have 8 players remaining. No,
that's 8.
Oh, it's 8. So run me down the list.
Ogre 2.
Okay.
Pistola.
Walshy.
That's my top 3.
Okay.
And then we got Lethal, Snipe Down. And then we've got Roy, obviously.
And then the twins. Oh, okay.
And then Snakebite, Royal 2.
So I guess I was just miscounting when I was doing it. I disagree with your top 3, by the way, but I guess we'll get to that when we get towards.
Yeah, Lethal 3. Maybe over Walshy, but Ogre 2, Pistola at top 2.
Yeah, I put Lethal at 1 or 2 for me.
You put Lethal at 1. Oh my God.
I mean, he's unreal. I mean, what he's done. I think I think the fact that he went and did what he did in H2A, left his team, and then won in Halo 5, I think is just unreal. I mean, he hasn't been out of a grand final since 2014.
Brandon, are you hearing this right now?
It's blasphemy, man. Blasphemy.
Over the goats.
Lethal's lethal, bro.
I feel
now, if Pistola doesn't win in Infinite and Lethal is still being as dominant as he is, I will 100% give Lethal the number 1 spot. But he's got to get 1 or 2 more rings before that happens.
That's true, right? He's got more gas in the tank, that's for sure, right? So it's up to him to see where he officially lands, right?
We'll see. I love Ola. I think he's great, obviously, but Ola got a lot earlier of a start. I think if you look at this span of their careers, what Lethal has done in his X amount of years and what Ola has done in his X amount of years, I think I'd put Lethal over Ola. But people like the old heads be old heads. They're gonna love the players that were there during the prime and that were there during the most exciting moments. And Ola was one of those players. So I don't blame people for putting Ola over Lethal, but I just think realistically with the judges that I saw on the panel, I think it's confirmed for me that 1-2 is either some combination of Lethal and Ogre 2. It'll be surprising. It'll be really surprising if it was Ola Ogre 2 for the top 2, in my opinion.
I think it has to be Ogre 2 at number 1. Looking at the judges, Bravo, Goofy, like they all understand Ogre 2's number 1. I don't think anyone on that list of judges, that panel, doesn't. But I mean, obviously with the point spread, that means a lot of people were putting either Lethal, Pistola, or Snipe Down or whoever at number 1 over Ogre 2. So
I mean, it's a 3-point difference between 1 and 2.
It's very shocking to me.
Knighty, off the top of your head, do you happen to know if Lunchbox has officially retired? We stopped by his Twitter account, right? It still says Halo professional player, but for reciprocity, obviously outdated information, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious. Is there a chance that we're gonna see him compete in Infinite?
The thing about retirement for esports players is that it's never final. There's always something that can happen in someone's life that can bring them back, and I think if he's paid the right amount of money and the orgs that are coming in definitely have that money, then he'll jump in the ring and start going to town, because he has one of the best work ethics. Like we've already talked about it, his balance in the game, him and Roy, they're two of the best professionals you can ever find in esports. They just know how to just do what it takes. Just like Pistola said, he's like the mom box. He makes sure to get sleep and make sure not to drink or party too hard. He knows exactly what to do. He's one of the best people you can invest your money in when it comes to trying to win events. So these big orgs could definitely bring him back.
Right, a very much, the body is a temple sort of mentality, right? And
yep.
A good all-around player. Obviously, he has the focus on the athlete portion of being an esport competitor, which, in my opinion, it is very important, right? I guess only time will tell to see, if this list ever changes. In the future titles, we got Halo Infinite coming out, and so I hope to see you compete, Lunchbox and Roy. Honestly, both of you. Obviously, the whole "Roy's our boy" chant.
Yes,
I'm curious. I think an interview with Lunchbox would be amazing, right? Because it's kind of the point of view from somebody that maybe was a little overshadowed by his twin, right? I'm not mistaken when I say that, right? Like Roy was definitely favored. And so that would be a great interview, in my opinion, to hear from Lunchbox. Lunchbox, if you ever catch any of this, hit us up, man. We would love to talk to you just to get your insight on your experience in the Halo esport world and all that good stuff. But Knighty, Gary, thank you so much for joining us here for this number 9 reveal of the HCS Halo Top 25. This thing still continues to not disappoint. It's definitely a conversation starter. I definitely love where HCS is going with this, and obviously we got 8 more to go, so plenty of conversation to come. We're going to be back tomorrow, same time, 10 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock noon in Central, and then 1 o'clock Eastern. So you guys, any last words before we go?
Yeah, this has been an interesting road, and I think it's going to even get better. Now we're talking about maybe there possibly being some huge upsets in the top 5. I think this was an upset too. I think, Royal 2 being higher like this, it makes for interesting conversations that we, obviously we just had, and I can't wait to see what more is to come.
Lethal is going to be number 1 on the list. You can book it right now. That's just the reality of the situation. Ogre 2 will get number 2, unfortunately, and I can't wait to see the reaction on Twitter, because it's going to be insane.
All right, guys, thank you again. Once again, join us tomorrow. We're going to be back for the reveal of number 8, so you don't want to miss it. Have a good day, everybody.